So once you've decided what you're going to do and what you're going to talk about and everything, you need to record an intro and an outro. And the bit that's going to take you the longest time is finding the music for it. It's a lot harder than you expected, and it's a lot more time consuming than you expect. But it's important to do that because music sets the tone for whatever you're going to be doing. So when you're picking it, just remember that this is the tone for your whole series. This is going to create the atmosphere to start and to finish. And it's something that people can remember. We all remember jingles.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nick Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. So now is the time in the evening that I am happy to introduce to you our guest speaker for tonight. So our guest speaker is Karen O'Connor. We haven't actually known each other long. We met at a local BX meeting a few weeks back, and she just happened to mention to me that she's a podcaster, and all of a sudden my ears pricked up because I love all of this content and online tools. And so we got chatting. I said to her, well, why don't you come and tell us your journey in podcasting? Because what she was telling me was a whole lot of things. And I thought, there's people that I've spoken with and people have asked about podcasting. This would be just the perfect opportunity to share, how to get into podcasting from someone with no experience in it, because most of us have no experience in podcasting. So she runs the Menopause, Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I am a subscriber. She's raised 4 children, found herself smack in the middle of menopause, how about that, with zero idea of what to do with her life. So I'm not quite sure how that led to podcasting, but it did, and now she's got a successful podcast online. So she's got an amazing story to share tonight. She's got a heap of tools and tips, so sit back, grab your pen and paper or your keyboard and Evernote or whatever you use to take notes, and come and join us and give us a big round of applause for Karen O'Connor.
Thanks, Nick. That's so cool. I've actually, as everybody's been talking and everybody's been talking about podcasting, I've kind of lost where I'm going to start with it, because there were so many things that were brought up about, I've been wanting to start a podcast for 4 years. I started a podcast and then I kind of lost my way because, there's not many subscribers. I can't find guests or whatever else. It's all the stuff that I've had to deal with over the last 2 years. So I started a blog about 4 years ago, and my brother was a radio presenter, and he said to me last year, why don't you do a podcast? You're good at talking. I went, don't be ridiculous. Anyway, I kind of looked into it and I thought, do you know what? One of the really big things that I felt, when I got to a certain stage in my life, and I know there's a couple of other people have hinted at this kind of thing, is that it's about sharing. And if we'd only known something, and if we could only get these stories out there, it'd make a big difference. And for me, that's what podcasting's all about. It's so much more powerful than just blogging, because people can hear your personality or see your personality. See, that's the other thing. People can also see who you are now, because it's actually easier to take the video off Zoom and edit that than it is to edit the audio. There's so many different things. So when Nick asked me to come on and he said, can you give away like a checklist for how to start your podcast? I said, yeah, okay, sure, I'll do that. Anyway, I opened up a checklist that I'd used to start up my podcast. So this checklist is less than 18 months old. I downloaded it maybe last September, and everything is completely different now. There is basically very little on that checklist that is on my checklist now, because the whole thing's changed. A lot of it is because people are used to using Zoom. So the expectation that you have to have a sound room and the right equipment, and you have to have a really great camera and all this stuff, that's all kind of gone. And on the other side of that, you can use a pair of headphones. Like I just use my AirPods or my Apple, these things. I just use these things when I'm recording, because there are apps out there you can run it through, and they're free as well, and your audio comes out sounding like it's being recorded in a sound studio. So there is no need for any of that equipment that was on the list when I started 12 months ago. So do you want me to just go, Nick, do you want me to go through that checklist that I did, or do you want to ask questions? How do you want to do this?
Look, if you're happy to go through that checklist, I think that's probably a good place to start, because it's really comprehensive, and the information in that I think is going to be really good. So do that, and I think if anyone's got any questions on the way through, drop them into chat or raise your hand, and we can answer those on the way through. That good?
Cool, thank you. Yep, that's fine. So the first thing that you need to do is define who your audience is, what your show's about, and why you're going to do it. That's actually really important. The other thing that will change, because it did for me, is what will your show's format be? For me personally, I found it really confronting to just talk on a topic. I can do it once or twice, but going on, I actually find that really difficult. I'm actually a person that responds and reacts better to people. So I started asking guests on and having them share, and I'm interviewing people pretty much all the time, but rather than just asking questions of the guests, we'll have a conversation. So I'm still involved in what goes on the podcast. It's not just your bog standard, here's a list of questions that I'm going to ask and we'll go through that list. And it's not just a lecture. I don't want to lecture somebody. Some people are really great at doing that. I'm not great at doing that, believe it or not, but I'm not. So think about who it's for, what it's going to be about, and how you're going to present it. What's going to be the best format that's going to bring out your personality and really connect your style to your audience, because it's got to be what's comfortable for you. I don't like too much all this talking about avatar, and you've really got to define who you're talking to, because it's got to come from you. And if you're trying to get it right, you're gonna fail at the first hurdle. The other question is, how often are you going to put this podcast out? The key here is to be predictable and just make sure that if you say you're going to put a podcast a week out, you put a podcast a week out. At 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, that's when your podcast goes out. There's going to be weeks when it doesn't happen. Just let your audience know. Are you going to have seasons, or is it just going to be ongoing? Just think about that kind of thing. And there are websites where you can have a look at the most popular times for people listening. Actually, I don't know whether I did that on Podbean. Maybe I'm telling lies about that's public. You might have to join Podbean, but then you'll be able to get that kind of information. Then you go into, what name are you going to give your podcast? I found that the most difficult, and then I woke up in bed at like 3 a.m. one morning. That was it, menopause, marriage and motherhood, because that's what I talk about. That's who my audience is. It kind of sums up everything. It sums up the whole topic of it, and it sums up what I want to communicate and what I want to get out there. So that was really easy for me. The difficult bit was actually creating the cover art. So get onto Canva and just get some ideas. They've got some great ideas there. Look up on iTunes or Spotify and have a look around at what other people in your kind of niche, what kind of artwork they're doing. Do you want to go colorful? Do you want to go with a photograph? Do you want to go quite plain? Have a think about what you're going to do. The one thing I will say is, unless you're already famous, unless you've already got a really big following, don't put your picture on there, because it's actually not going to do you any favors. You want the name of the podcast out there. Unless you like Liam Hemsworth, everybody recognizes his face. Don't bother doing that. Don't bother putting your face up there. Put the name, because you got to remember, if somebody's looking at it on their phone, it's kind of this big, they can't see much. So get the name out there so that it's the name that people relate to. The next thing is choose a hosting platform. I actually use Podbean. I did my research, and for me that was the most intuitive, and it was the better one. They have a free program, and you get some more. I can't even remember what the benefits are on the paid program, because I joined pretty early on. My son uses Anchor FM, for his podcast because he can do it on his phone and he's way more techie than me. So he can edit it in Anchor, which is a big advantage. You can't edit in podcasts. You just literally upload your file and Podbean hosts it for you. But Podbean is really great at getting your podcast out to all of the platforms. So they just recently, about a month ago, they created more and more buttons. So you literally click on a button, it takes you to the hosts, like Spotify, not hosts, the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Pandora, all of those, and you just it will automatically do it for you. So you just fill in things, send it off, and there you go, Podbean, send it out. You can also, and I don't know whether many people know this, but you can link up a YouTube channel to your podcast. So your podcast will go out as an audio file with your logo on there, and Podbean will just send it to YouTube, which is a really good bonus because then you can add on other videos if you choose to, but I'll talk about videos a bit later. You do need, if you are going to do any advertising or any promoting on Facebook, you need a website because Facebook being Facebook, the little darlings, they don't like you promoting any links to a podcast or YouTube. You've got to promote them to a web page. So you have to have a web page that you can use in Facebook ads. I don't know about anywhere else. I don't really like using Facebook much. I'm just not a big fan. So, but that was one thing that I did find out. I use SiteGround because their help is really good. It's instant. I'm not that techie. So with SiteGround, if something goes wrong and I want to point it somewhere, I literally just get in their chat and it's instant. They fix it for me. I highly recommend SiteGround, but I'm assuming most people here are quite techie because you're all following Nick. I'm not that techie. And then make sure you set up a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. I'm going to talk about something else a bit later. I'll leave it to the end. Right now, when you're recording, the easiest thing to do is to record on Zoom. So particularly if you're going to be doing interviews, if you're going to be talking to people, it's so much easier to talk to on Zoom. I've tried doing interviews in the same room as somebody, apart from the fact that, we've been in lockdown most of this year, so that's made it pretty much impossible. I found it difficult if we were, because we're not going to be in a sound recording studio, it's actually very difficult to stop the echo. So it's much easier to use Zoom. Zoom's got a fair quality audio. I've just found a new app called Crisp, K-R-I-S-P. The links to all of these are in the checklist that I'm handing out as well, by the way, so you don't have to kind of scribble everything down, but crisp.ai, K-R-I-S-P.ai, and that acts as an interface between Zoom and a host of other recording things and the actual audio. So it will block out all the background noise and make it sound really great. I remember recording one podcast and I thought I was actually down at Pacific Fair, which, if you don't know, it's the biggest shopping centre in the Southern Hemisphere, but I found a quiet corner and I sat there. There was nobody around me. It was a mid-afternoon. There was nobody there. You could not hear me at all on the audio because my headphones just picked up all the background noise and not my voice. Crisp stops all of that, and it's got it shows you, it's got examples of what it cuts out. It's just amazing. Now, I heard a few people talking about, do you do audios or videos? Do you do a podcast or a YouTube channel? Which one do you do? Well, here you go. I discovered this app called Descript, Descript, Descript.com. Now, what you do with Descript is you upload your Zoom file, and you can upload, if you do 2 speakers, you can upload the audio file separately, but you upload it to Descript. It transcribes the audio file, and you can edit the audio and the video from the transcription. So instead of having to go through and do little cuts here, there, and everywhere, you can just highlight the words in the transcription and it cuts it out. It's the most time-saving thing, and it will highlight all of the filler words, like I'm terrible for saying and it will highlight all those, and you can just, with one click, just get rid of the whole lot. And it's honest to God, the best app I've found between Crisp and Descript. And this third one that I'm going to tell you, Auphonic, Auphonic, auphonic.com. Take the audio file out of Descript, the highest quality one that you can, run it through Auphonic, and it comes out sounding like you've recorded it in the studio. And you can get up to, I think it's 3 hours a month that you can run through there. So most podcasts, you know, most podcasters, you'll be okay. You can be on the free thing, and then you just buy so many hours, and they're just there till you use them up, or you can join the monthly program. I just buy like 10 hours at a time. So in terms of what hardware you need, it's completely different to what it was 12, 18 months ago. You don't need the fancy microphone. You don't need the pop screen. You don't need any of that kind of stuff. You just need a pair of AirPods or a pair of headphones and a decent light, because if you're going to use the video off on Descript and use that to put it up to a YouTube channel, because that was the bit that I missed. If you use Descript and you've got the video and the audio, then put the audio up on your podcast and you use the video on your YouTube channel. So you're doubling up on your potential audience. Some people like to listen, some people like to watch. I'm a listener personally. I can't stand going on YouTube, but anyway, it just gives you that extra option. You got nothing to lose. So that's the only thing that you need to buy, because you've probably already got headphones, is a decent light, and you can get those on Amazon or eBay, or there's quite a few shops in Australia that sell them as well. So once you've decided what you're going to do and what you're going to talk about and everything, you need to record an intro and an outro. And the bit that's going to take you the longest time is finding the music for it. It's a lot harder than you expected, and it's a lot more time consuming than you expect, but it's important to do that because music sets the tone for whatever you're going to be doing. So when you're picking it, just remember that this is the tone for your whole series. This is going to create the atmosphere to start and to finish, and it's something that people can remember. We all remember jingles, and then a short intro and a short outro. Don't make them too long. When I started, I did an intro that was nearly a minute long. It was just too long. I was trying to tell everybody what I was going to do, and you're going to get this and you're going to get that, and this is me, and blah blah blah. Just keep it short, 10 to 15 seconds. Welcome to the Menopause, Marriage and Motherhood. Glad you're here. It can be really short. It doesn't have to be lengthy. It depends on, in your outro, thank you for joining us, and head on over to Facebook and join my Facebook group. Don't forget to check out the downloads that are available on the website, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. The problem with putting them in the outro is that people will probably switch off as soon as they hear the music. But you can put them, if you use GarageBand, what's it called, iMovie, you can put little ticker tape things going along on the video if you want to do that, so that during the actual video people can see it. I always put the links in the description on Podbean as well to my website, and I've actually put in the download, I've put like links to my Google forms and all that kind of stuff, so you can go and check them out and get some ideas. If you're going to have guests, and this is where the Google Forms comes in, you need to get organized. This is the biggest thing. If you're doing a podcast every week, you're going to have your audio file, your video file. You're going to have the original ones. You're going to have the finished ones. You're going to have your intro and outro. You're going to have all your graphics, both for your podcast, for your Facebook posts, for Pinterest, if you're on Pinterest, for your YouTube videos. There's going to be a lot of files. If you've got guests as well, the easiest way of getting all their information together and keeping it in one place where you can find it easily is to create a Google form, because you can ask all the questions that you need to ask. Tell me what products you want to promote, what do you want, how do you want me to introduce you, what do you want me to call you, what's your business, all of those kind of things. And then you can put them on your page. So in kind of payment to say thank you for coming on the podcast, you can promote their latest products on your page, or links to their social media accounts or whatever. And talking about this now, two things that is the best way, because I know a few of you were talking about guests. There was one of you was saying, you know, they found it really difficult to get guests. There are two Facebook groups that I'm a part of. I joined one about 3 weeks ago, maybe less than that. I'm now booked out till February for guests. I will put the names of those into the chat a little bit later because they're not in the podcast launch checklist. So that was a really great place. You just put up a post in these groups and then people answer. And there's like hundreds of people in this group all around the world. It's just amazing. The other thing you're going to need to do if you got guests is sign up for a scheduling tool. I use Calendly just because I find that one easy. I find it most easy to use. And when you use it, because you can set up like responders and everything, it just makes you look like you know what you're doing. Appearances can be most deceiving. So, right, you're almost ready. So you've done a lot of the background work. Here's the thing with a podcast, and that's my cat trying to get in the house in case you can hear that noise. Here's the thing with a podcast. It is not a good idea to put up one podcast at a time. You need to have credibility, and the platforms do not see you as being credible until you've got about 6 or 7, 8 episodes up there. They will not promote you. They will not put you in front of anything. They won't show you on anybody's screen. I'm pretty sure when I joined, and I don't think it's the same now, but when I started back in February, you couldn't even get onto Google Podcasts until you had 6 episodes. So the idea is to record 4 or 5 episodes, get those up, and then get another couple of episodes done pretty quick, smart, and then you start with the regular ones. I found that really difficult to do. So I started recording about last November, and it took me till February to actually get the podcast out. But it's actually the best way of doing it. You can do it more slowly if you want to. And I have an idea about that as well. You can do it more slowly if you want to, but I would suggest that you get at least 4 up at the same time. And the first one, or one of the first ones, should be about you. A short one that's just about you, your background, how you ended up here, what you want to achieve, and all that kind of thing, so people can get to know who you are. Where am I? I've lost where I am. Get your finance system organized. I said that. And the other thing is, before you actually go to launch, tell everybody about it. Tell all your friends, get it out on social media. And I know we don't want to do this because, you know, it's really scary. What if you don't manage to get anything out there? But you need people to know that this is coming out. Just tell your friends, tell all your family, and just make sure that they listen to it. So once you've done all this, and you're ready to actually sit down and record, this can be the hardest bit, sitting down in front of the microphone and starting to talk. My first podcasts are really appalling because I was so nervous. I was so trying to get it right. And I was so scared about what people would think and whether they wanted to hear me. I had all this chatter going on in my head. There was one of the podcasts where I actually wrote the whole thing out and then read it out, and it sounds like I'm reading it out. And one of my sons is an actor, and he said, "Mum, it's the most difficult thing in the world to do. You know, it sounds really easy, but it's actually really difficult to read a script and sound natural." So, yeah, I don't recommend doing that. What I recommend doing is having somebody to talk to, even if it's just in your head. You know, you're talking to your best friend, or you're talking to your cousin who's across the other side of the world and you haven't seen for ages, and you just want to catch up on what you're doing. Have somebody to talk to. Don't try to talk to a screen or talk to a microphone, because you're just going to freeze up and it's going to sound like this, and it'll be very monotone, and you'll probably sound like I do when I'm nervous. I start sounding like the Queen. So it's probably not a really good idea to do it. Reduce distractions like the cat knocking at the door. Stop everything that's going on. Anything that can beep on your computer, on your phone, get everything switched off. I was recording one time and I got a phone call in and the recording just stopped, which is not good, but anyway. And then set up a quiet environment. If you live in a house that's not, you've got tiled floors, timber floors, no curtains, it's going to sound terrible. And this sounds really weird. The best place to record a podcast is actually sitting on your bed. So if you're not recording the video, go sit in your bedroom, fluff up all the pillows behind you, get you doing a write-up over you, and that actually stops all the echo, and the audio sounds really great. It's not as important now because Auphonic will take a lot of that out, but if you've got a lot of echo, then that's something you need to be careful of. And while I'm on that subject, if you've got guests, make sure that you've both got headphones in, because otherwise you can get some feedback on each other's computers so that you can hear, and because there's a slight delay depending on where you are, you can hear the other person, you can hear yourself talking on the other person's audio. So if you both use headphones, that kind of cuts out that problem. So edit your podcast. It's better. Look, for me, I think the more perfect it sounds, the less, how can I put this, approachable, the less, the less relatable it is. So leaving in the occasional and filler word is actually okay. So filler words are like, that kind of thing. Run it through Audacity, and once you've run it through Audacity, do a final listen of it. Just do a final skim through. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I published an episode and it had 10 minutes of dead air between the end of the podcast and the music starting, because I didn't actually listen to it, and I'd cut and pasted in the intro and outro, and then after I'd finished editing it, I didn't bother editing out that final bit. So yeah, there was 10 minutes of dead air there. You upload it to your host, and then you write a title for your episode. Again, this can be a really tricky bit. How do you attract everybody's attention? It's gotten easier. And if you have a WordPress site, you can pay for, Nick will know about this, Yoast SEO. But if you've got that on your website, Yoast SEO Premium will actually score your headline and give you a score out of 100 as to how good it is, and you get a red light, an orange light, a green light, and it kind of goes through the scales. That's really useful. There are other apps on the internet that you can stick your headline in, and it'll rate it for you and tell you how to improve it. But just make sure you do that. Then do a web page. For me, that's quite important, because Facebook, you have to link it back to Facebook. It's also a great way of promoting your guests and sharing other information that if you've put a show out there that's given information like this, you want a platform for people to download that information when they've listened to the show. And then once you've got your 3 or 4 episodes recorded and you've done all of that, it's time to launch. Set a date, and here's the tricky bit, stick to it. There's a lot to do, but you can do it. It is doable. This is a really quite easy step-by-step. Set aside a few hours every day. You could do it within 30 days, even with the podcast. Personally, my feeling about the length of the podcast, and I know Nick was talking about this right at the start, is if it's just one person talking, I suggest between 20 and 30 minutes. My son, who's the actor, was saying that in a soliloquy, the maximum length of time for a soliloquy on stage is about 8 minutes. Beyond that, everybody's attention starts waning. So if you think about that, a podcast is slightly different, but if you're going to be talking by yourself, I'd keep it reasonably short, 20 to 30 minutes. I try not to go over the 45 to 50 minute with a guest as well, because, and that's just from my personal preference, I wouldn't listen to a podcast that was an hour and 15 minutes long. I'd just be like, no, this is too long. I haven't got time to do that. So I try to keep my podcast to a length where I'd go, yeah, that looks good. It's a personal preference. Go with your gut feeling, but that's my opinion. 20 to 30 minutes if it's just one person. 45 to 50 minutes if it's an interview, if you've got a guest on and you're having a conversation. Schedule as much in advance as possible. So if you can get a few more episodes recorded, great. if you can schedule in your guests like I have, and it's the first time I've managed to do that. I've got guests scheduled in till the end of February. I'm trying to get all of my interviews done in the next 2 weeks so that I don't have to do any interviews over the Christmas holiday period. Because, you know, I've got my kids at home and I want to spend time with them, not time on the phone going, or, you know, being on the computer and saying to the kids, look, you need to just be quiet for 2 hours while I do this interview. You know, I don't want to be doing that. Let everybody know when your launch date is. Just keep telling people, just keep sharing. And the other thing is, ask your friends and family to rate and review the show on the platforms. The other thing I would do, and this has actually made my life so much easier, because when you start a podcast and you're going, okay, here's the link to Spotify, here's the link to iTunes, here's the link to Google Play, and you end up with this big long list of things. Podbean, Podlink, that's the one, pod.link. That is a platform. You pay $10, it's free, or you can pay $10 a year, and you get your own channel name for $10 a year. And that drags all of those platforms into one place. So your podcast title is there, the description's there, your channel graphic, each episode, and then it's got every single platform that your podcast is on, and the icon is there. So you just send people to your Podlink channel and they can pick which app they want to listen to it on. It makes life so much easier because you just share one link. Here's Podlink, go listen to it on Podlink, or go watch it on YouTube. It's really, really easy. If you got guests, let your guests know when the episode is going to go live. Keep in communication, make sure you tag everybody, and you can maybe, you know, if you've got an existing audience, you can choose a giveaway prize. You know, if you rate my podcast, let me know, show, you know, do a screenshot when you've done it, and you'll go in the draw to win whatever, and that'll get you more ratings. And that's it, really. Once you've got it, once you've done all that, that's it, she says. I'm just looking at how far I've got to go. Once you've done all that, get it up on all the platforms. Like I say, on Podbean, it's actually really easy to do because you just click on the link, fill out all your information. And then that's the other thing. Once you've filled out all your information and you get the approval back, which can take up to a week, Google, you then have to go onto the platform and claim it. So you've said, this is my podcast, get it up. But you then have to go onto the platform and go, this is my podcast, and they'll confirm it. And then you get access to go in and manage your podcast. Use Podlink, and another one similar to Podlink is Podchaser. And that allows you to, I've just realized I've done something wrong. Podchaser allows you to do the same thing, but it's better than Podlink in that it gives you all the analytics, who's watching where and all that kind of stuff. But you do get that information on Podbean as well. It tells you which platforms people are listening on, and it tells you where they're from. So my audience is pretty much 50-50 Australia and the US, and about, well, 40-40 Australia and the US, and about 20% from the rest of the world. And what was really interesting a few weeks ago, when the election was on, the week the election was on in the States, my American listeners dropped down to almost zero. So that was quite interesting. One of the biggest issues that there is in podcasting is that it's very difficult to get any traction. And I heard a couple of people say this. It's very difficult to build up an audience. It's a long, slow process. And after I was talking to you, Nick, at the business meeting last week, I was sat there and I went, oh my God, that's what I need to do. I need to form a collective. What if I set up a channel where lots and lots of people are, businesses, life coaches, whoever else, and they all put their podcasts up there, and it acts like a networking group. So, you know, somebody goes on there and they want to listen to you, Nick, talking about technology or something, but then they can also go on there and listen to Dion. They go, that sounds interesting. I want to find out about that. I want to go, there's an accountant here who's talking about offshore investments. So it's basically everybody pooling their listeners and growing their podcast much quicker and much more easily than it is to do it by yourself, because your podcast just gets lost on the platforms. When you're starting out, it is very, very difficult to build an audience. So I'm starting up a collective where we come on and there'll be people, we all just share our audiences, and there'll just be lots and lots of different businesses on there so that we can get as many listeners as we can. It's just leverage. And I think that's about it, Nick. I'm going to open up for questions now. Have I gone over time? Am I all right?
No, you're doing it well. What do you mean that's it? That was a heap of information.
That's a lot. I just went, blah. Here you go.
So, no, that was awesome. That was excellent. I mean, the thing that I found really interesting is that I've got a checklist for creating a podcast, which is probably a couple of years old, and that's sitting there for me to start. And you've just told me now it's all out of date. So thanks for that.
Sorry. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's open it up for questions. So question time. So, just unmute yourself if you're happy to do that. Just unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and ask your question.
Hi, Nick. It's Donna. Whoops.
Hello, Donna.
Hello. I'll put my thing back on. I was sitting in my comfy lounge listening. Karen, I love it. Thank you so much. I really know nothing about this podcasting, but I do love that very last point you had about the collective. As I mentioned earlier, I'm into the networking thing, and I believe networking is the way to go. So that just adds to it. So it's a case of, are you saying you are wanting to create a collective?
I'm creating a collective. Yeah. I only came up with the idea last week. I've got 6 or 7 people who are going to be part of it already. And that's just like me just going, okay, I'm in the middle of this. What do you think of this idea? Are you interested? So, but it will be started and launched in the next week. So there will be a monthly fee that we all just pay. There'll be a channel. There'll be both a podcast channel and a YouTube channel. So I'll host it on Podbean. It will go out to every single platform, the same as, you know, all the ones that I've listed out in the handout. But again, it's just that leverage. It is so hard to get, and it's so disheartening. I've seen so many people start a podcast and give it up because they're like, well, you know, I've had 30 listeners in the last month if I'm lucky, you know. And it's getting that leverage. So yes, I will be starting that up.
So what are the prerequisites to be part of the team, or it
doesn't matter because it's a collective, and because we'll have probably 50 or 60 podcast episodes in there, which gives us a big whammy as far as the platforms go. So it kind of takes away that need to do 4, 5, 6 episodes before they even start looking at you, you know. I've still got to figure out details like how do you search or something? I don't know. I've got to think about tiny little details, but it just seems like, so everybody will still be able to have their own channel logo because it appears next to every episode. So so when you put your podcast up, your little channel logo goes through, so everybody can just skim through and go, there's another one from that accountant. Oh, there's another one from that health coach. Right. So it just helps everybody to step up and increase so much quicker. Yeah.
So will you put a link up in regards to that, or what?
I will put a link. I'll put I set up a website yesterday. It's like 1 page. But you can go there to download the checklist and everything. The checklist, the 18-page long checklist. You can go and download that there. But there's also a link to join in the collective as well.
Right.
Yeah, so they'll be on there. So it is, what is it? Speak Up Collective.
Nice.
.com.
Nice. Speakupcollective.com, which will be coming very, very shortly.
It's live now. It's just not. It's just not
as in the link you're putting in.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Nick's done it. Yeah. Thanks,
you.
Nick.
Thank you. Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Karen, I have a question for you.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for joining us as well. So good. I was so right in the middle of it yesterday when you called.
It was really, really. First of all, thank you very much. That was really informative and blowing my mind a little bit, actually. So that's great. Question for you around you mentioned earlier about sound quality. Don't worry about that. Just get your earpods and off you go. I've got all the equipment to make like professional quality podcasts. Well, I guess I'm curious because I've listened to podcasts before that I've gone, you know what, this is unlistenable to me because quality was so bad or whatever was happening. Why do you think it is that quality is not so much of an issue anymore? I'm just curious to know.
I reckon Zoom, honestly. I reckon this year in lockdown has made people just a little less perfectionist about the whole thing. Now, my brother, like I said, he's a radio presenter and he's bloody appalled at the fact that I don't use proper headphones and a microphone because I've got them and I just can't be bothered plugging them in. I'm like, whatever, because I want the microphone in front of my face. I use the video as well. So I don't want the microphone there. That's a personal choice. But when I have my brother on, he sets his whole thing up, he has the proper thing. But Auphonic is what makes the difference. So when you run it through Auphonic, and because you got Crisp now as well, which helps cut out all the background noise and helps filter out all of that kind of stuff, between those two things, it actually brings the sound up to an acceptable quality. Now, it's really surprising. Like 12 months ago, no, you needed the equipment. But those two apps now, that's what makes the difference. So you can get a good sounding podcast without having to buy all the equipment. But, my brother just wouldn't do that in a million years. He's just like, no.
I'm probably a lot more like your brother, but maybe this could save me a lot of time. So I would definitely have a look at it. Thank you.
Yeah, check it out, because I'd be interested to know what a professional person's view on Auphonic and everything is, and Chris. But have a look at them, because I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, will do. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, Karen, I have a question. You're talking about the podcast and stuff. What's your take on like having a live podcast where people can also join in, especially when you use Zoom, to have that more interaction and stuff?
I've actually been thinking about that lately, about doing like a live podcast radio, live radio thing. That just appeals to me because, for me, like I was saying right at the start, what works for me is interaction with people. That's when I really get energy from it, and just talking at a screen or a microphone, I can't do it. I just find it really difficult. So I'm actually thinking about that a lot. I think that's the next way to go for me, to step out into doing live stuff as well, for sure. Yeah, I actually started a series of podcasts with a woman who she's a best-selling author. She's a businesswoman. She's amazing. And we do a podcast every week. But I'm actually thinking that at some point, my conversations with her would be great going live, because, getting that interaction with people would actually be brilliant. So I think it's a great idea. I think that's the next step forward, to be perfectly honest.
Because it goes back to what you had said before, is scheduling. And so if people, especially, as more people have embraced online due to COVID, that we now have a global audience. And if people know that you're talking about something like in your case with menopause and everybody who has their niche, is that people can tune in and be part of that conversation as well. Yes,
I do a few live streams on Facebook. So probably about once every 3 or 4 weeks, I'll do a live stream on a Saturday morning with one of the guests that are talking about something specific. Facebook, I find it difficult to get traction on. I think it's because I don't like the platform, so it kind of doesn't work for me. But I think it's a great idea. Definitely think it's a great idea. Yeah, for sure.
And just another follow-up question then, on that, because as I said, I'm on Anchor FM. Do any platforms allow, well, I guess from a strategy is you would have your quote unquote podcast on Zoom, where you can have the engagement to then put it on the podcast platform. Then the other question is, are there any podcast platforms that allow that live interaction?
I'm pretty sure there are. I don't know whether I saw a button on Podbean about doing live podcasts. Yeah. I'll have to have a think about that, and I'll have a look. And Nick, can I let you know, and do you put it in a chat? How do we work this if I go and find something out? Because I have seen that somewhere. It must have been on Podbean.
Yeah, look, it'd probably be good to put a follow-up post on the Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook group. So if you go in there and just pop it in there, anyone that's not a member of that, that's where we pop a lot of the information that comes out and follow-ups for these meetups. Just go to Facebook and search for Business Owners Smashing It Online. It's a Facebook group. Go and join that. We do go through a process of approving you, which is all pretty quick, but really just to keep the spammers out of it. But then, all of these sort of things there, we'll put that up there. And Karen, just go and put the info up there.
All right, great. I'm just putting in the chat those two Facebook groups where you can go and get guests. So both of them, well, the first one is when you need a guest. The second one, the podcast guest collaboration, it's to find guests and to put yourself up as a guest as well. So you just do #find a guest, #be a guest. And then, I got like something like 33 responses. It was just like, whoa, it's amazing. So, yep.
All right. Any other questions?
I saw a question, I can't remember who it was, about do you plan your questions with your guests or just see where the conversation goes? We just have a topic and then we start talking about it. That's kind of how it goes. And then I might ask them at the end if there is anything else that they wanted to talk about. But I do conversations. I don't really do interviews, so that's the style that I prefer. But you can do interviews and, you can put all that on your Google Forms and everything. Yeah. Was there anything else?
Yes, I have a question.
Hey.
Thank you, Karen. I really enjoyed all of the amazing content tonight. Amazing. I'd like to go back over the replay and catch some more of that again. Now, my question is around doing podcasting as a pure audio versus a video podcast and then taking the audio from that. What are your suggestions around those two formats?
It depends on whether you're interviewing somebody or whether you're just doing it yourself. If you're just doing it yourself, you can just record it straight into voice memos on your phone or into GarageBand or any of those kind of apps. The audio that you get off Zoom, it's two separate files. So you get the video and you get the audio and you just literally take the audio out. So it doesn't really make any difference. There's another app I used for a long time and I'm just going to have to try and find it. I think it's called Ferrite, Ferrite. And there is no way I can find it right now. I think it's Ferrite, and that one was really good for recording and editing. I really enjoyed that because I could use it on my iPad and edit it on my iPad. So I did use that for a long time. I sorted all my apps out rather cleverly into groups and now can't find anything. So
Thank you, Nick.
All right, there's a question here, monetization. So I guess it's how do you make money out of your podcast?
So the easiest one is when you get to 10,000 listeners, like you can monetize it through Podbean or your platform because it works the same as YouTube. When you get so many subscribers on YouTube and you start getting income from Google ads that they put on there, it's the same kind of thing. So you get a certain number of subscribers or listeners, and then you start earning money that way. The other way is affiliate marketing. You can start doing, what's the word I'm looking for here? Sponsorships. You can start doing that kind of thing and advertising people's stuff, So like you with the apps before, you can start doing that as a sponsorship kind of thing. Yeah.
All right, what else have we got? Any other questions? Just have a look through chat to see what we've got. If anyone's got a question, just unmute and feel free to ask.
I've got another one. I don't know if I've missed it, but I heard you talk about, make it short, 20, 30 minutes. And I'm just going, are you kidding me? And then you said 45 minutes and I'm just going, what? I'm very good at talking. Some say, well, I can talk underwater, but that's a long time. What's the minimum? Is there a minimum or no? Right.
No, there's a number of podcasts that I follow that are like 8 to 10 minutes an episode.
Oh, I feel
Yeah,
happy.
8 to 10 minutes. And yeah, my suggestion is if it's a business you're talking about, like if you're an accountant talking about something, keep it to 8 to 10 minutes, because otherwise you're going to lose people's interest. It's just, do what you're comfortable with. You see, that's the thing. Everybody tries to get it right, but it's actually about you and what you're comfortable with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it, like with interviews, for me, I don't have interviews. I have conversations with people. With other people, it might work better, more structured. Whatever works for you. Yeah,
right.
It's your voice. Yeah.
Fantastic. I like the 8 to 10 minute thing.
Yeah, just do 8 to 10 minutes. And it's interesting. Sometimes you'll find the time goes really quickly and you go, oh, holy crap, I've been talking 23 minutes now. But other times it's like 3 minutes and you're done.
Right. Right. Okie dokie. All right. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yes.
Awesome. Any other questions? If not, let's put our hands together and give Karen a big warm thank you for that. That was an incredibly awesome evening. There was a lot of information in that, and very, very helpful as well too. We've put the link to the checklist or to the website up in chat there. Do go and download it, and I would encourage you to do that. Karen sent that to me earlier, and it has got everything in there. Everything she's spoken about is in there, the apps, the tools, everything you need to pay attention to. It's the most comprehensive checklist that I have seen yet on podcasting, and it will be the most up-to-date one as well too. Sorry, Donna, you got another question.
Yeah, so what's the link? Because I'm just looking, and I tend to do a screenshot of this because I can't find it when I save it. So what's it actually called, where it's got your checklist?
It's Speak Up Collective. So it's only one page. So just as you hit the page, speakupcollective.com.
Okay.
And there's just like, download your free checklist. There you go.
Wonderful, wonderful.
There you go. I've just dropped it back into chat again. So
thanks, Nick.
Right in the middle of the page.
Cheers. Thank you. Done.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Karen. That was an excellent evening. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. That was so cool.
This is the visual podcast, so it was good. All right, so just a few things. First thing is the replay of this we will have up on the Business Owners Smashing It Online. In the Smash Go YouTube channel. So if you go to we'll put the link up into chat here as well. If you go there and subscribe, there's two things to do. Go and subscribe, which is the red button on there. There's also a little image of a bell. If you click on that bell, as soon as it's up there, then you will get a notification coming through that it's ready. So we try and get it up on the following day. So, and look, feel free to share that out to anyone else that you think might be interested. They can grab all of that up on the YouTube channel. Also Business Owners Smashing It Online, the Facebook page, if you join that as well too, that's where we make all the announcements and continue the discussion and any sort of chat in there as well too. For tomorrow, we have the office hours. It's the office hours meetup. So it's the coffee chat that we have at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So I think that's 11 o'clock for daylight saving time, 4 o'clock. Well, not quite sure what it is in the other countries, but it's on Zoom. If you just go to Zoom and register, then it is a coffee chat. Now, it is office hours. It's informal. So there's no speaker, there's no agenda, there's no topic. It really is, people to come along to either bring an issue, a question, a topic, looking for a recommendation. Sometimes the discussion starts off with some of what we've learnt from tonight. So you're all welcome to come along to that. That is at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, Queensland time. And I'll pop the link into chat. The link is in chat now, so it is on Zoom, so you can just join us there. It's pretty informal. Bring a coffee, cup of tea, glass of wine, whatever you drink at that time in the morning. What else have we got next week? So the session next week will be on at the same time. I can't remember who the speaker is. I know we're booked out for the year for speakers. So we've got a great lineup running through to Christmas. The link for next week is up there in chat as well. So feel free to go and book in now, put it into your calendar so that you've got it bookmarked and you remember that as well too. And also we are starting to plan for next year as well too. So we are calling for speakers for next year. So if you know someone that you think would be good to speak on this forum here, or if you got a topic yourself that you would like to volunteer for and speak, We can't guarantee that everybody gets on to speak. We do have criteria for it to ensure that it's relevant for this particular show. It's not to say you're not a good speaker if we don't accept you. It's just that we're just looking for some relevancy for this particular audience and platform. Generally, it's all about things that will help people with the online aspects of their business. So podcasting, that is about communicating online. So if you know of anyone, or if you're keen, just shoot us a message, and we're happy to have a look and see if we can fit you in for next year. But apart from that, once again, a big thank you to Karen for sharing with us so generously tonight. And thank you for everyone for coming along tonight, and I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow, seeing some of you next week, and just seeing some of you online. So go out and have a great evening. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nick Cree, spelled Nikree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.